Well, let's start with an intro and your origin story. So, how did you even get into gaming, and why Counter-Strike? All of those things.
Well, I always, my entire life, obviously loved gaming. I remember when I grew up, I had this like, you remember they were called like Game and Watch. It was even before Game Boy. It was like like this pocket version of a game where you could play, and it was just one game per pocket version. It was like Donkey Kong, and it was like Super Mario Bros. And stuff like that. I think I got introduced to that when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
Then obviously I remember visiting the toy stores. They had this like in the windows they had Nintendo and I think it was Sega Mega Drive 16-bit, right? That was quite early.
Yeah.
And one time I visited my neighbor. He got a brand new Nintendo. He was playing Super Mario, and I tried it, and I think instantly I got like hooked on video games and gaming. I remember saving up to one myself. I used to work at my dad's restaurant, like folding like papers and stuff like that to get like just a small amount of money every day. I did it like every day, every weekend until I finally earned it so I could buy my own Nintendo.
We were literally just talking about that. Both of us did the exact same thing. Mine was mowing lawns.
Yeah, I was raking leaves. I was painting fences, just saving up money to buy a gaming system.
Yeah. And one cool thing, if I jump to the conclusion, is like the first game I bought was Zelda, Legend of Zelda, and it had this really cool golden disc back in the days. It was super retro, super cool. It was like, yeah, in gold. And then my first daughter name is Zelda just because of that game, since it was the first game I actually bought myself.
That's amazing.
Well, fast forward, I always loved gaming. I got, I loved the Sega Mega Drive. I think I had like over 80 games or something to that. That was really super fantastic. And like getting papers, reading about games coming out. I was like a really gaming nerd. Then somehow I got off gaming a little bit. I was really into traditional sports. I played football. Bandy is a sport that we play in Sweden. That's a shitty game, to be honest. You play it on ice. It's kind of like not a budget version of ice hockey, but a kinder version where you play with the ball and stick instead of a hockey puck.
Oh, okay.
And you can't do tackles and so on. So it's a softer version of ice hockey, basically. A bigger playing field, but you're still doing ice skating and so on. I did that for a few years. Then I got into taekwondo, boxing, love those kind of sports. So I have a mix of both team-based sports and individual sports, basically. And it was the reason why I mentioned it then, because when I had like off season of boxing, I used to go to you could call it a youth center that had a gym that was open in the weekends.
Yeah.
And I used to work out there a little bit. And a guy worked there. He said like, Tommy, we got new computers at the office, and I installed this super cool game. You have to come and try it out. And that was Half-Life, basically. And
okay.
And I think we spent like 3 days in a row or something like that playing a Half-Life deathmatch, and I really loved it. And it was insane cool that you could play online and meet. And then I think it was like 2 weeks after he said like, oh, I downloaded this amazing mod to Half-Life. You have to try it out. It's called Counter-Strike. I think this was like very early beta stage. I think it might have been 4 point something. It was really early.
Yeah.
And the first map I actually played was called Mansion. It's an old house where you can like turn off the lights and everything got dark, and that's the only reason why you could use a flashlight back in the days in Counter-Strike. I don't think many people realize why there was a flashlight. And I think that was one of the few maps where you actually had a use for the flashlight, and it was the sewer system and so on. But yeah, obviously I fell in love with Counter-Strike. One thing led to another. I got a close friend of mine that actually started his own team, so I joined that quite early, and we were quite decent. So if you guys remember something called clan base that existed like way back, this is like the beginning of like you could say the professional esports scene. We had
Yeah.
these cool letters, and it was both an international letter and also a letter per country, so to say. So I think we actually got to the position where we climbed to, I think the highest we were actually number 2 in Sweden with that team. And then me and the team leader and my friend, we had an argument because I thought that he was so unserious as a team leader, and he didn't want to take the next step and focus. And I'm so competitive on myself. Like I want to claim that number 1 spot. It wasn't something else in my mind. And I thought that he was like slacking in the practice department. I mean, we were a team, and his role was supposed to motivate us all and become better and so on. And he was just like, whatever. And that team was called Omega Force, by the way. So I remember in the argument, I told him that it doesn't matter how serious name you have, because it all that matters is how serious you are as a leader and how you run your team and how the team focus and so on. And my way of proving my point was that I'm going to start my own team, and I'm going to have a totally unserious name, but do the stuff behind the scene like more serious, and like doesn't let the name define my success. So I always loved those cheesy like 80s ninjas movies that was really popular in the early 80s, and grew up with them. I love martial art movies overall, but I think somehow I love the mystique with the ninjas. So how do you find an unserious name with a cool ninja look? And I think it was my kid sister. She was watching a TV program. It was really popular in Sweden at that time, in the early 2000 and the end of the 1900s. It was called Bananas in Pyjamas. So one thing led to another. It was really popular to have a clan tag with like a short of 2 or 3. So how do you find a name with like 2 or 3 letters? That sounds kind of cool. Unserious name. You have ninjas in it. So yeah, Ninjas in Pyjamas got born there.
I love that. Is competitive to be like, I wanted to prove that the name didn't matter. The seriousness needed to be everywhere else. So I purposely chose an unserious name to drive the point home.
And how old were you when you were having that conversation? Like, I'm going to make my own clan.
I was 18 at the time, so I got into competitive gaming quite late. I think it was just a coincidence. I mean, since I loved gaming and so on, I would probably got into it early if there were access to it. But I mean, this is the time where internet kind of started blooming out, computers came out, and the only competitive game you could play before that was basically Quake. And if I got introduced to that, I would 100% get addicted to Quake and play that a lot. But unfortunately, I missed that whole like era, and I got in quite late. So if I could have started earlier, I definitely would have done that. But somehow the stars were aligned, and I got into the Counter-Strike scene quite early. But I also was a new name on the block, basically, because nobody had heard of me. And basically because I didn't even own my own PC before that. So obviously no one has ever heard of me. And that actually also started a whole lot of other conversations where I got accused of cheating and so on. And that was kind of ironic because still when I started Ninjas in Pyjamas, I didn't have my own computer at home. I had it at a LAN place, an internet cafe. So I never played alone. It was always a lot of people around me. And still I got cheat accused because I was new kid to the block that started basically owning everybody online. So but it was a fun story. And I mean, once someone sets a high goal, right, it's hard for people to believe in you. Obviously, the mix of nobody heard of me, I was new to the game. I didn't even have my own PC when I got into Counter-Strike. I had a clan name that was kind of unserious, Ninjas in Pyjamas, and I had the vision of becoming the best in the world. Obviously, people are going to doubt you and laugh at you and like, why do you spend so much time on that? That will never lead to anything. So yeah, that was the start of Ninjas and Pyjamas when I was 18 years old.
So from there, how did you build that first team? How did you find the players? Were they local? Did you
So
find them
yeah, so
online?
basically we were a mix because obviously when we played in Omega Force, I saw some talent. So some of them left to start up Ninjas and Pyjamas with me. So basically we were a mix of 50% of the team were actually friends of mine that was sitting at the same lawn cafe, and 50% we basically friends that I thought were really talented that I found online, like playing on public servers or scrims and stuff like that. And one thing led to another. They liked my vision. They thought I had skill and leadership enough, so they joined me. And the first like strange thing was that actually I don't even think people remember, but the first versions of Counter-Strike when you played competitive, even online, was actually 6 against 6. But that got changed quite early. But like the first tournaments we played, even online, was actually 6 versus 6.
No.
And that was kind of strange. But I think some of the old maps, for example, Dust 1, I don't think many people played that back then, was actually more optimized for 6 people than 5.
Yeah.
It was more balanced for that. But then new maps started coming out, and 5 versus 5 were like the new standard format quite fast. But it was also kind of strange to do the change of doing tactics for 6 people, and all of a sudden you have to remove one role and change it. And first you could either have like 3-on-3 in each site, or like divide it 2-2-2 and have like 2 each site and 2 in the middle. And all of a sudden you have to have like an unbalanced number of players somewhere.
Do you feel like you were born that competitive, or do you think it was like, you'd mentioned that you had played some traditional sports and stuff like that, and some combat sports like martial arts and boxing? Do you think you were kind of born to have that competitive nature, or did traditional sports help in any way as you transitioned?
I'm not going to go in too much about my childhood, but I had a really troublesome childhood, and I think like the combination of it all really made me super competitive. I lost my mom and dad when I was 6 years old. I got forced into different foster care homes. I think I went to like 8 different foster care homes until I got to the age of 8.5, 9 years old. So I got moved around a little bit, no stability, no nothing. I always had to prove myself. I got bullied in school before I started martial art. Then I did some other stuff. Then people didn't bully me anymore. But I mean, so I think a lot of events and stuff in my life just made me more and more competitive. Also, obviously, the martial art stuff was like the last edge of really getting me into like the super competitive part, because I was used to team games before, but then now it's all up to me. And if I want to win, I have to put in the extra effort and so on. And it's in martial arts, it's more about like life and death. If you get my point, it's so crucial that you actually win. So you get that extra edge of really wanting to win, I guess. So I think the combination of it all was a really perfect mix for me getting into the Counter-Strike scene, because since everything was so new then, I think I was the first one that really took it super serious and took it like really competitive, and that's what gave me basically a head start against everyone else that just find it as a cool hobby or something that they wanted. And
one last touch on, you mentioned you love martial arts movies. What are like your 3 favorite all-time martial arts movies?
3-time definitely it's a Kickboxer by Van Damme. I love that one. That's probably top 1 in my opinion. Recently I really loved like what was it called, like Ninja Assassin. It's a quite new one. It's not that old, maybe like 12 years old now, so it's way after I started Ninjas in Pyjamas. But I think that was kind of cool in the martial art it was above my expectations when it came out. I don't remember the Asian head star, but I think it was really cool. I was looking forward to Ninja Session 2, but it never came out. But I really love that one. Number 3, I mean, is it a martial art and so on? But I mean, who doesn't love the Rocky movie, right? Like, I think that's one of the movies that always like motivated me when I got into boxing and so on. You would watch the movie, awesome soundtrack, everything around it. Listen to a lot of that on the training sessions in boxing. So I mean, I have to mention the Rocky movies. I can't pick one. I think Rocky 2 is the best one. I don't know. Obviously, all of them are great, but
yeah, it's funny. I still go back and watch like 80s and 90s martial arts movies that like inspired me, and it still gives me the same inspiration.
Yeah.
Like I really like Jean-Claude Van Damme. I think we're very similar in age. I think we might be like a year apart. I'll be 44 this year. And you know, he was just like the coolest in all those movies, like for sure. Like I remember wanting to learn to like do the splits.
Yeah.
Like that picture of him between two chairs or something like that. I was like, oh yeah, I need to do that.
And then later on the Volvo.
Yeah, with 2 cars. Yeah. But like Lionheart is one of those movies for me that like gets me every time. And I like try to convince my kids to watch these movies now, and they're just like, Dad, how old is this? This looks so old. Like, I promise, just watch. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome, and we're definitely the same age. I'm 44, turning 45 this year. So, and I loved all those cheesy like 80s, 90s movies. That was
So from NiP, what happened then? So you created this team. What was the rise like? How fast did it happen?
I mean, that's the insane part, because I remember like starting the team, and we won the online tournament quite fast. It was PC Gamer Cup. I think the first prize was like a year of subscription of PC Gamer, like the paper. We had and we got a mid cover of us and the team presented in it. But that opened up doors. So an internet cafe in Stockholm reached out to me and said like they were sponsoring eyeballers at the time. They were like world champions in Quake. And they reached out to me and like, we're looking into Counter-Strike. We see the potential. We think that is the next big thing. And you just won like one of the largest online tournaments there is. Could you come up for a meeting? I went there, and one thing led to another, and they started like sponsoring us. And I think that gave us a lot of hope. And from like the date when I started NiP till like the first time we went to a tournament, I think it was just 6 months in between.
Oh wow.
And then CPL got announced, and the first CPL we went to was actually in Europe. And we had a lot of bad luck. First, one of the players, I actually think he cheated now, because he didn't show up to the airport. So we had to like take a last minute stand in. That wasn't optional, because we like build all the tournaments, all the prac with the, like the main 5 guys basically. And we had to bring in another guy, like last minute replacement. He was a brother to another, and he was a really talented guy. Nothing against him, but it was like, it's always hard to change your lineup in the last minute, right? And still happy that he showed up, and we could like continue with the tournament. And back then, since this was actually like the first big LAN event, you could say. It was in Cologne, Europe. And I think the rules for tournaments back then wasn't really set optional wise. So one of our best players had a blue screen in the middle of the game, and we had to continue the whole game. And we were playing like 4 against 5, probably 70% of the rounds. Obviously, we're gonna lose, and obviously that happened to the team that won the whole tournament. But I remember the third place. I think we actually came 4th, but the third place match we played against a Danish team called SOA. They were really skilled, and I had this insane game. I think I had like 45 kills or something like that, like super insane. So this guy came up to me afterward, Executor. He became a really good friend. He played in SOA, and he was like, "Oh my God, you're so insane! Like I don't understand how we won because you." I mean, and we started talking, and we said like, let's build something together. And we didn't do it like there and then, but I mean, I think it was 2 months later. Then we went to CPL in Dallas, and that was like the first world championship in Counter Strike. And the fun part was that it was actually a side tournament to a large Quake tournament that had quite a decent prize pool back then. And the same thing happened again. So one guy, he missed the flight, and then we didn't have the time. But the good part then against in Europe, you couldn't attend if you were under 16. But in US, you could if you had your parents' agreement or something. You filled in the forum and then was fine. So actually, it wasn't just that the blue screen thing, because one of our best player, Median, he couldn't attend to Cologne. So the combination of one of our main guys missing the flight and Median not attending, and the blue screen was just
devastating.
But we saw potential, and we really proved that, because Median came to the States with us, and even though the same guy that missed in Cologne, he missed the flight again. And this time we weren't that lucky, so we actually had a worse stand-in. So we had to use a Quake player called Elixir, his nickname, and he just like played CS 5 times casual. But he had like decent aim because of Quake and so on, but he had like zero understanding of the maps and so on. But we kind of used that to our advantage, because he got like, he would be our bait, right? So as terrorists, we would just like run in here and then we just refrag you and that's fine. And hopefully on the CT side, you can like stay really defensive on a bomb spot and get someone in the back or anything like that. And one thing led to another, and we actually won that tournament quite easy for having a Quake 3 standing. And it was amazing. And I remember, just 2 months before that, I actually got like really cheat accused. It was a news site called counterstrike.net here in Sweden. That was like at the time the biggest one in Sweden. And they wrote an article like, Potti is cheating. And like, here's the proof. And they had some weird log of me having exactly 75% headshot, and that was their proof of me cheating. I was like, I played this game at an internet cafe. You can ask like the 20 people that were standing behind me when I played. Like, obviously I didn't cheat, but they still went ahead, because I think one of the guys that we beat in that game, it was like for the number one contender spot in Sweden, basically. He kind of worked for the site or something like that, and he supplied them with the logs and said like, here's the proof. It's impossible that someone has exactly 75% headshot on all the maps, blah blah. And that was proof enough for them to go out and say like, hey, Potti is cheating, here's the proof, right? So the cool retribution for me is that just 2 months after that, we were winning the biggest tournament there is on LAN. And I actually got awarded for MVP in that tournament. And I think Clive, that was working with me and Lee then for Counter-Strike at the time, he wrote a small article also. Like, normally he only wrote articles about the updates about the game and so on, but he attended to the tournament. And he said, like, watching Potti play a game that I produce, it's an honor seeing someone master the game the way he does, blah, blah, blah. And that was such a, like, not just a big relief for me, because it was also a huge honor, obviously. And and Construct.net, they had to come out with an official excuse. We're really sorry about the accusing. So that was some good times. After that.
And then so if I remember correctly, so you created NiP, and then there was a transition where you were on SK, right? Like, you guys made the team for SK. How did that happen? And was it shortly after the CPL tournament?
It wasn't shortly after this one. So we actually had a huge success about 1.5 years at that, where we basically won all the LAN events and everything. I think we had some seriously, like, unfortunately there aren't that many like HLTV or Wikipedia, so you can't watch like the old games. But I actually think that we even have a better LAN record than like the newer NiP in CSGO and so on that has the record today. I think we even beat that record like back in the days, because we won every single LAN event with NiP for 1.5 years basically. We had a huge success. Unfortunately, I took in a management because I was so active playing, running the team. I couldn't run like all the business behind of sponsorship and getting sponsors to pay for our trips and so on. So we took in a guy. I'm not gonna trash him online or mention the name and anything like that, but we got promised so many things that we thought this is happening, and then he broke the news that we missed. I think it was CPL Team Speak Easy event or something like that. This was late 2001 or it was beginning of 2002.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually missed one of like the biggest events during the year because he basically lied that sponsor had covered our trips and so on, and then he broke the news like 1 week before. Oh, I'm really sorry.
Oh my God.
The sponsor didn't came through, and then we found out that it was all bullshit. It was never any sponsors from the beginning. So we were in a tough situation because we were risking of missing out like the next big CPL and events and so on. SK reached out to us. They had huge success with their organization. They were really large. They had a great management, everything like that. We had some really cool meetings. One thing led to another. And I mean, we took a hard decision because NiP was so successful. We had built a successful brand. We started like a legacy run. We had momentum, but we weren't going to risk that for missing out like the next, because everything was surrounding such a few centered tournaments back then. It isn't like it is today where you have like 10 tournaments a year, or if you miss one, it doesn't matter. Some people like teams even miss on purpose, right? Because there's so many tournaments to go to. Obviously you will never miss a major, but you can miss some tournaments. It doesn't matter because your schedule is full anyway. And back then we didn't have that pleasure. So if you missed some of the biggest one, you were basically out of the loop, you could say. And since we already missed one, we weren't going to risk that again, basically. So the offer from SK made sense. We decided to put NiP on pause and disband it and join SK, basically. And
that was the CPL, because I feel like that was when I was trying to get good at Counter-Strike. So you know how you were talking about inspirations from videos, you know, Kickboxer or whatever. I remember playing like Callow, and we would be playing matches, and I would hype myself up by watching you guys win CPL SK. Like I would watch that video and I was like, yes, like I'm getting hyped right now.
Tommy's your Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Pretty much, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're my Jean-Claude.
That really honors me, to be honest. I mean, that's such a cool thing. I mean, to hear nowadays that like we kind of inspired so many people to like take the next step, get into competitive gaming, the esports scene. I think that's really amazing, because we never did it for the money, like the fame. Yeah. We did it for pure passion. As I said, I grew up as a gamer. I always loved gaming. I was always super competitive. So playing competitive video games, that was like obviously the best thing for me. Like imagine if you can live out of something you like. This is your pure passion, right? And I think that's really cool. And seeing how fast the esports scene was growing, how it's like started a huge like community, trends, like a kind of a lifestyle for so many people around the globe, right? So I'm really proud and honored to be like part of that, and more proud now back in the days, because I don't think when you play that active, especially back in the days, you don't realize how many people like following you or reading articles or looking up to you, because this is you forget that, but this is before social media, right? So this is even before that, and you didn't have Twitch, so it wasn't easy to spectate and all those things. So I'm really happy nowadays to hear that we inspired so many people, and proud of what the scene are today, and esports is still growing yet today and filling arenas, and it's such a cool feeling.
Yeah, it's cool to see people that are still involved that you remember from a long time ago, because the very last season that I played was CGS season 1, 2007 or so. Yeah. And then I kind of just stopped gaming altogether after that. And then I came back. Actually, this is how I got back into gaming. I posted on Facebook that I was going to Taiwan. And then my former teammate K Sharp messaged me and was like, "Hey, I'll be in Taiwan." And I'm like, "You're trolling. Like, this is very strange." And then I met up with him in Taiwan, and he was like, "Jimmy, you won't believe how big gaming is now. They're streaming." And I'm like, "What's streaming?" And he's like telling me these prize pools are massive. We used to play at CPLs for 50K. Maybe 80K was the highest I've ever seen at a CPL. And he's like, these tournaments are like $1 million tournaments now. Yeah. And he's like, we should play when you get home. So I get home and I immediately build a computer, and then we start playing Counter-Strike again. But that's how I got back into gaming. And then obviously working here, we hop on a lot of calls with people. And I don't feel like I was like, I'm not legendary status. I was somewhat good, you know, in Canada. I was probably one of the better ones, but I still run into people that are like, "Oh, I remember watching you in Cal I or whatever." And I'm like, is this real life right now? Like, what is going on? So yeah, it's amazing to see people still involved that have those grassroots, right? Yeah.
K Sharp is a legend. I mean, he's a beast. It was always like a pleasure and a pressure meeting him. He was super talented guy. Like if he lived in Europe or I lived in the US, we would definitely be playing on the same team.
Yeah.
He was super talented. I really like him, and a really nice guy as well.
To bring it back to starting a clan or making a team, because obviously you were doing the recruiting, right? What were you looking for specifically in players? How did you know that this player was going to work out or not work out?
I think this is the really interesting part, because I'm not going to bash like the new organizations in the industry today, but I mean, I think that sometimes you're looking more like for like a star play than talent. I was more looking for talent, and I always looked at potential of people and like getting them to the next point in their career. Like I didn't want to take like the best players. I want to take someone and see the potential and then make them great, right?
Yeah.
I think a cool part of that, and I know that Emil mentioned it a lot, because when I played with Heath on like the first, he obviously had mad skill and potential, but he was quite nervous when it comes to like the pressure point and so on. So, but I saw like this is potential, and I think this is something that everybody can be taught. Like if you put into a lot of pressure moments, finally you won't feel that much pressure anymore, right? So I actually did that, because the first time he trialed for Dynasty in Pyjamas, he actually failed quite big time, because I saw how nervous he was and he couldn't handle the pressure. So I saw someone said like a giga move from me, or like giga brain, because I once like called him up, or not called him, but I messaged him or anything like that. Like, "Oh, we need someone to like stand in for a scrim." So I didn't want to like say it's official tryout, just to see the difference, and if he performs better like when it's not a pressure point. And then he was like just insane. He went insane. He went like on all the sides, and it's like, so then I really saw the potential. Okay, so if we can like put aside the pressure point, this guy will be amazing, and he will fit into to the team. And so that's like the story of how Heaton joined NiP, and we became like a legendary duo, you could say. Yeah, because it wasn't just about his mad skill, because I think he had the same passion for the game as me, and the same passion of taking it to the next step and wanting to win everything. And I think that's important also, for not just like being talented, but put in the hours that needed. because
Yeah.
like I won't say that everybody could be talent, because it's really hard obviously to be talent, but if you find talent and you put in the work, I think that's where great things happen. And I'm a strong believer of that hard work actually beats talent. And
Yeah.
I think I'm myself is a proof of that, because I never saw myself as a super talent, but I was always put in the hours, the practice, fine tuning stuff that I needed to be better in. And even though I obviously never played up, I played that a lot also, because if I had to pick up an up, I still had to be able to use it right. So
Yeah.
I always tried to master the few percentage needed here and there to actually, not just be shine at what you're good at, just to be able to perform. I wanted to win games. It doesn't matter how many frags I get or a highlight move or anything like that. That's just secondary. If I get one, that's just a bonus. I'm more focused on winning games and my team winning games.
Why do you think folks are now so focused more so on kind of star power and then them already of achieving some star level status versus talent? Is it because it's so much harder? Like, it seems like being able to find that talent, to have the vision to see in the conviction to be like, I believe in this person and that I can help support, do you think it's just the difficulty of that, or do you think people don't even really consider it?
I think nowadays that people get a little bit lazy, because I think that once people are scouting people today, they always look at stats first, right? Because obviously there's such a huge player base and so on, and you have to kind of fast forward some step. And the easy way of doing that is just to look at pure stats, right? So I think that all top organizations today are just looking at the stats level, and they forget about some things, because sometimes you can actually take a person and like building him step by step, getting more confidence, and with more confidence, like more skill and game knowledge comes along, and also a player can actually learn a lot from other players as well. I think I've seen that in a lot of teams that I think missing chemistry, because they can have a lot of star people, but if they don't have anyone that's dedicated basically for the whole team working as a team, that can also like kind of be a say a bad spiral for the team. So I think a mix of it, like sometimes you need to find people that you really believe in, that you can build and trust, and I think nowadays people just like kind of pay a salary and expect them to do the work themselves instead of building players. I think I see a lot of top organizations, and not to this and a particular one, but I see a lot of people just like, okay, we're going to pay a lot of salary, a buyout, and then you spend like zero time in actually improving the player themselves, because they expect them to do that themselves by just paying a high salary. And from my point of view, I think that is going to change in a few years, because then you really need to work at the team chemistry and everything around it, and actually build player up. We see a lot of organizations nowadays have like the what do you say, like what's it called? I can't even find the word for it now. Like a youth organization. Young. You could say young Ninjas, for example. I think that's a trend, but I think that's just like top of the iceberg. Because there's so much organization can do by just having youth training, scouting early talents, not getting into like having the goal like in a few years, not 1 year, to get in like the top A team or something like that, and build them from the scratch. I think traditional sports are really good at that, but I think that's one of few things esports has to get better on, and I think it will in the future.
Do you think it'll move to like a traditional sport model? I remember, I don't know, maybe it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, there was like a real push of even traditional sports team owners buying teams, starting teams, whatever, and this rhetoric of like, well, esports is going to be like, it's going to be as big as traditional sports. You get all the VC money coming in because they're like, oh, the Golden State Warriors were this 20 years ago, we're this, not like all of that stuff, right? And then this mention of like college and high school esports orgs as like a path to pro, but that never really panned out either. It didn't really seem like that same model would work. Do you think it will work in the future, or that's just one of the things that makes gaming so unique is you don't have to all be in the same room in the beginning? Like, we're having kids in high school where they're playing. It's not like they're only playing games at
Yeah.
school. They're playing these games at night with people they know all over the world, or at least in their server region. That maybe they're much more skilled than the folks that they're playing on their high school team, and you kind of have to convince them, like, no, you're your high school team. But I don't see many orgs really recruiting from the collegiate or the high school path.
I think that's a really good topic, because I'm a believer in many years now that actually esports has to adapt more and more to like the way traditional sports has evolved, because I think esports evolved in a great way. I mean, don't get me wrong, because I love where esports is, but I also was a kind of allergic to the times where they would put in too much VC money. There were like too many tournaments. It all surrounded like the same teams at the same tournament all the time. And for me, it's not sustainable. I remember one time, and like, I'm the creator of NiP, and one time I didn't even want to watch all the NiP games because there were too many tournaments. I'm not going to name drop any to just like, talk bad about a specific tournament, but there were too much tournament focusing on the same teams. It was like the same 10 teams at exactly like the same tournament, exactly the same prize money. The rankings like didn't make sense then either, because you didn't know like which tournament gave more points or what was it. The only thing that made sense was obviously the majors, but other than that, it made no clue at all, like who's the best now. This team won that tournament, same prize money as next week with the same one. And I don't think that's like the future, because if it gets like watered out, if it were the Olympics every month, like, would people watch it? Yeah. Right. So I mean, so in my opinion, esports has to not go back to the roots, but become more and more value of like the national tournaments, so to speak. I actually started a local national tournament here 6 years ago in Sweden, and we actually already are, when it comes to viewership or exposure, we actually ranked as number 3 in Sweden right now. Sports, we're like way below ice hockey and football or soccer. That's like the number 1 in Sweden, but we're actually number 3, and so we climbed in viewership over a lot of traditional sports. So I think that somehow proves the point, because obviously we could do that because CS is such a rich history in Sweden. We always had the top teams, a lot of players have been playing it. We had good IT infrastructure since like the early 2000s. So obviously it makes sense here. But in my vision, or I believe that this is going to be the next thing in every country, like more strong local leagues, focus, more, you could say, value of like being the best in your country. Because right now someone could like be, I'm not going to mention the specific country either, but let's say you're the best in that country, but that country is like best ranked number 60 in the world, right? So people say, oh, that team is trash. But in traditional sports, you don't say like, he's the best in that country, now he's trash. No, you're an athlete, you're good at what you do. It's an honor of winning that. And I think some way in not just Counter, but in esports, we forget that. And it's like, if you're the best in your country, you're really good. And you should be proud of that. But in esports, it's like, oh no, they're trash. They're like this. So we need to like go back to the roots, and it's an honor of being like the best in your region. As you said, like you're best in Canada. Obviously, you're going to have people looking up to you, and I think we need to build more around that. Obviously, we need the super teams, the superpower, and everything like that. Obviously, we still need that, but we need to build a broader, you could say, span of players, because that will also increase viewership, and that will increase people selling merch, being proud of supporting a team. And I think that's what's really good about traditional sports, because a team could actually be even trash in your own country, but they will still have a fan base because it's local based or anything like that. And I think, and it was a long speech, but I think that's what esports need. They need a stronger support base. It doesn't matter if the team win or lose, because you have some kind of personal presence on why you're liking this. Is it because it's from your country or from your city or whatever it is? I think esports need to move back a little bit to that roots, to be honest.
I've seen that firsthand growing up in Ohio outside of Cleveland, because our American football team, the Browns, have been a punching bag, a terrible team for decades. And it doesn't, the fan base is rabid.
Yeah.
Just rabid. It doesn't matter. They're
Yeah.
rabid and they love it. But exactly that, because you can feel proud because it's your team.
Yeah.
It's your team, and it's something you can go and participate together with friends and watch and support
Exactly.
and all of those things. It builds massive camaraderie and excitement, even when, the Browns have been terrible for a long time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Did that tie into you recruiting at all? Because when I was playing on EG, we specifically kept our roster all Canadian so that we could play WCG together. We didn't pull in Americans or whatever, but we wanted that Canadian team, basically. Was that similar for you guys too? Did you want to keep it all Swedish, or?
I mean, not specifically. We actually, like, over the course of my career, over like 7 years, we almost, like, I would say 80% of the time, or maybe at least 75% of the time, we always had one Norwegian player. First, I played a few years with Executor, a great guy, great talent, had such a knowledge of the game, loved playing with him. He had some issues, like personal problems that, kind of made us go separate ways. But I always respected him. I love his playing style, loved his personality. We were really good friends. And then we found a new, you could say, prodigy, where Element came in. Loved that guy too. Super talented, so smart, so mature for being such a young guy. He put in like the extra like spice in our team. I mean, we always played as a competitor for a few CPLs. Obviously, we edged him a little bit, so we always came out on top. But when he joined us, we actually really took it like to the next level, because he also had a great understanding of the games, found like new strategies, cool play, like a really, you could say, a cool playing style where he had his head cool in tough situations. And there was a long answer, but my point is that even though we were known as like the Swedish team, we are like 75% of the time I played with a Norwegian guy. At one time we also had Harvey from the UK, even though we didn't like play that long time together. I mean, we always had a mix. Actually, the first time we won CPL with SK, we had two Norwegian guys. It was me and Heaton, only the Swedish guy, and we had Zenon, that was a UK guy. So the majority was actually non-Swedish in that lineup, even though it didn't last that long. But no, the point is, I don't think nationality is a big thing anymore. I think chemistry is more important. And obviously sometimes it's easier to find chemistry when you're a national team. But somehow it also makes sense, obviously, because it gathers more fans when they can put something together, like, okay, now this is a US team, or this is a Swedish team, or this is Russian team, or whatever it is. Vitality from France, or I think that's a good spice. I don't see see that as a super good way of moving forward, because that gets a more local fan base, as you said. Because let's say now Vitality has an era right now, and they're a French-based team, even though not all the players are obviously from France. But I think that people will support them in many years to come now, because they grew up with them, they have the era now, and even if they start in 2 years or anything decline, because everybody has that kind of loop, good times and bad times, they will continue to have a great fan base in France that will support them and for a long time. And I think that's what needed for the ecosystem, to build something that you can keep on, to have a strong fan base. Doesn't matter how it goes. I'm not going to trash NiP too hard, but I think it's amazing that they still have a fan base because of the recent results for many years now. But I think they will come back strong, because they, as I said, everything goes in a loop. NiP had a really good time for many years. Still a great organization that had some few years now with some bad times, but I think they will get into the loop because bad times create good times again, right? So
Yeah. Speaking of that, I mean, esports, you've been involved now for what? I mean, like 30 years. If you're mine, like 30 years, right? Like early teenage
yeah,
years
soon.
and times flies. You've seen, you've seen the loop happen several times, in esports in general. And it seems like, maybe 2022, we were at, for esports, kind of a peak in the loop again. And now it's kind of declined and we're in a trough. Do you think we've kind of bottomed out and we're on our way back up? Or do you think that we still maybe got another couple years or a year or two of trying to sort out what gets us back up?
No, I think we will definitely get back up again. I think this is you could say a healthy regression, because I think that we needed to get rid of like the VC money and unhealthy boosting of the ecosystem, like the standardization of having an insane amount of monthly paid for just a decent team. You're not even a superstar, and you expect like, oh, I want to have 50K per month just to play at a standard team, right? It wasn't healthy for the ecosystem, and
For sure.
a lot of organizations just relied heavily on 90% VC money, right? And that's not the sustainable ecosystem for esports. So I think this was definitely needed, but I still believe, and I'm sure of it, that esports is going to become the next thing, because we're moving into better times. More and more marketing money will come in, sponsorship, and I think that esports is such an important channel for brands nowadays. Because if you look at me, I'm turning 45, right? If you want to reach me, I do like 80% of the time I work with esports and gaming. I game myself. Other than that, I find a new passion in golf. But I never watch traditional TV anymore. You can't reach me through TV ads. I barely read newspapers. So if you want to reach me with an ad, it's almost impossible. I might walk past a billboard on the side, like when I'm walking in the streets and so on. But I mean, I don't have any personal tie to that billboard, so I couldn't care like 5 cents about that billboard, right? It doesn't give me purpose or reach out to me in a way. So I think, and I know that a lot of companies realize this, that like, esports are here to stay. It isn't like something that's gonna go away anytime soon, right? And this is a passion where people spend most of the days, like even more than on social media, reading books, watching TV. So it's an important channel, and I think a lot of companies realize this. So once you could call it like the ketchup effect. Once it gets going, I think a lot of marketing money is going to put into esports in a couple of years from now. And I think then we're going to see a whole nother bloom in esports, and a healthier one that isn't supported by VC money. It's about companies that realizing the worth of the organizations, the athletes, what they get out of sponsoring, like the players, and so on.
It feels like we had a lot of the word someone used, it really stuck. They said tourists. It's like we had a lot of tourists come into gaming and esports for a few years, and the correction has they've all left. And now we're left with the people that actually grew up and care about gaming. The tourists have went back home.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's healthy, and that's the way we want it. And now we can do a healthy growth, and I think that it will be a more sustainable business model for the ones that make it. Because it's also hard, because if let's say you're a sustainable organization doing stuff right, and all of a sudden you have to compete with VC boosted, like it's like I don't know, you're taking boosters in athletics, right? I mean, you can't compete with that, and I think that's what was unhealthy for the ecosystem, because a lot of legitimate organizations that some of them like went bankrupt and so on, they would probably still exist today if it wasn't for the VC money that put in.
I got one more question. During your career, were you someone that kept the same sensitivity throughout, same mouse, or were you someone that would swap constantly?
Oh my god, I would swap so many times. I mean, yeah, I was probably known for that because obviously I didn't change mouse that much. I kept. I played with the 1.1 Microsoft.
Yeah. We didn't have many options back then.
So definitely wasn't that many options. But sensitivity, I was in the same range though. I was playing from back then like 3.0 to 3.6, but I changed so many, like changed resolution, like size of the crosshair. I sometimes even tried to like I played with 800 as CT and 640 as T because I thought it was easier to control like the spray with the AK on 640 and then the Colt was easier with 800 resolution. So yeah, I changed too much for my own good, I suppose. And still do today when I just play casual.
Yeah.
I missed that shot. Nah, it's probably the sensitivity, and now I have to change.
Yeah.